Thank you so much, Law and Trouble. Pleasure to be here. I'm Initialise. That's Caedrel. We have got on our hands potential elimination match, number 1 of the day.
Very important game.
Yes.
XL need to win to keep any signs of life whatsoever. I think the Dest has touched on it plenty of times. 1 loss and they are gone. And I think people are just so surprised this roster is in 10th place right now with just 1 win.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, I think pretty much everyone was expecting these guys to be towards the top end of the standings, not languishing in 10th right now, looking down a very early elimination from the split. But they've got to go up against SK Gaming, who had a bit of a rough loss themselves yesterday. Kind of got dismantled by Finn's Gangplank in the late game. Yep. And they're looking to bounce back today.
Definitely are, but I feel like SK is the opposite of what XL are in a sense. You know, lots of names on XL, lots of veterans expecting to make playoffs no matter what, probably contesting best of 5s and top 4. Whereas SK are the team that was expected to fight for top 8 in the first place, and they're already happy sailing. They've had a fantastic split so far, so XL needs to be very careful. This is actually quite a tough matchup for them. So we'll see how they get on already straight into the draft here. You can see SK Gaming taking away a lot of the pushing bot lane matchups. Heimerdinger Ashe taken away from Patrik and Targamas, who I think they've been struggling in the lane phase especially. I feel like Patrik and Targamas, 2 big names. Patrik's always been the carry of XL. Targamas won a split last year, and together in bot lane, they just look so disconnected.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. Fortunately, I did talk to the audience earlier about getting some advice over to these teams before we go to the match, and they did have a rule for draft. And what is the first rule of draft, Berlin?
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. You need to get rid of the cat.
Train them well, yeah.
So potent. And they've not followed the first rule draft.
They couldn't give a crap, really. They're just going to leave it open. SK aren't even going to pick it. It feels like Yuumi's kind of slid away right now. Still think it's really powerful. We'll see if XL opt into it, but Malphite is just such a strong champion with the poke that he can provide. Also quite a tankish champion, depending on how you decide to build him.
For sure, and we've seen a lot of potency out of the Maokai. Looking maybe a Sejuani here as well. And for all that, the cat has raised some eyebrows for the consistent popularity over the splits. It does feel like it's been some of those jungle champions that have been so strong in recent weeks.
Yep. As the Renekton Sejuani insta pickup for XL. Odoamne had a good game on the Renekton. I think they lost that game, but he was so strong on the top side despite bot side struggling. So want to make sure they have really good early skirmishes. I wouldn't be surprised if XL go for some kind of Sylas or Akali on 3 for Vetheo to make sure they can keep those melee champs alive with the Sejuani. SK, are they going to go Zeri Yuumi? Are they going to go Zeri Lulu?
Feeling like it.
Could also try to match top here and drop support, but then you fall into this weird hole. But they're going to pick up the cats. Well, if they have the Maokai skin, they're going to have 2 cats.
They've probably got a lot more. There's a lot of very long cats coming through. As Senna
locked in for XL. Now, Targamas on G2 was a fantastic Senna. I think he had standout performances on that champion alongside FLICKR. They played so many different things with the Senna. They played things like Sion as well. So we'll see how they get on. This could be in Patrik's hands. It could be in Targamas's. We've even seen, I think from G2 last year, it was Targamas's Swain.
Yes,
with FLICKR's Senna. So I think both these players are very capable of playing it. It's just very dependent on which one wants to pilot it and which one wants to go for some kind of niche or pocket pick to push in this Zeri Yuumi. But there's the Sylas ban. Wouldn't be surprised to see something like an Akali ban as well. XL taking a lot of mages away from Sertuss right now.
Targamas win rate on the Senna, something like 83.3% right now. Very strong on the champion. Of course, as you said, you still go to Patrik's hand. And yes, it's a curveball, but it's elimination. Whatever tricks you've got in your bag, now's the time, or you might not have a chance to show it.
That's exactly it. This is a best of 1 that can decide their fate, so we may as well just throw it all, the cards on the table. SK last ban coming in here. They see one of the bot picks. They could take something away, like the Swain or something funky, but they're not confident enough to find the exact thing that XL are working with. They're just going to take away mid laners to make sure that Sertuss is safe on the blind pick, because XL are going to pick up their AD carry or support here. Whatever the Senna is pairing with, I expect it to be played here. The Renekton flex can stay alive, and then they can also counter pick mid. So I feel like picking mid here, you lose a lot of value. What's it going to be? It's going to be Yasuo Senna box. Or is it going to be... It could also be Yasuo mid still. So we're still... Everything's up in the air with this Senna.
A lot of flexes available.
Yeah, XL are making a nice little cocktail here in draft. We'll see what SK respond with. They could just be kind of patient, pick up things like Gnar or Gragas. Malphite, fantastic picking things like Renekton and Yasuo. Sylas is already banned. Akali, another meta champion that can do well against bruisers. Anything that's just meta-orientated, don't get too caught off guard or try to dig yourselves in your own hole.
Well, this draft is certainly simmering, but we've still got to finalize what's being cooked in this kitchen right now, and looking to round out this roster, a top laner for Irrelevant is likely on the cards here. What do they want to go? Some of those flexes are making it a bit tricky to work out where things are going, so might have to be something like that Malphite they hovered earlier. Instead, it's just that Sion.
Yeah, straight front to back. Akali can be sort of solo playing around the team fights, and the Zeri Yuumi Sion will just be playing, like I said, the front to back. So now XL What is it going to be? Is it going to be Yasuo bot with Senna? Sounds a bit awkward to me. I feel like the Yasuo really likes pairing with something like Gragas, so I wouldn't be surprised if this Yasuo is leaning towards mid. Does he want it into Akali here? Vetheo can get the push early, but needs to be careful. But it could just be the Yasuo bot, Viktor mid, get a little bit of AP.
Okay.
They are lacking a lot of AP damage, so it's going to be Senna Yasuo bot for XL.
In their elimination game, XL go for Targamas on Senna, Patrik on Yasuo. They really have thrown the kitchen sink out here, and very different team comps. One's a little bit more standard, I think, and you're looking over at XL, and how do you want them to play this even?
Well, expecting them to play through side lanes, Vetheo will struggle a little bit in mid in terms of playing around him. He'll be fine in isolation. He'll get the push into the Akali. Level 6, you have to be a little bit careful. But Xerxe needs to focus on these side lanes. Top lane should win in isolation, so you can think of that as a guarantee and then just stay towards his bot side. They need to make sure that if they do play towards bots, that the dives are executed properly. They don't have that good of a juggle. They don't have things like the Elise or a melee support. It's Yasuo, Senna, and the Sejuani probably as soon as she queues into proc Aftershock, she has to flash out. So we'll see how they play around it. But making sure the BTO is safe, making sure the bot lane can play aggressive is exactly where XL want to focus. And SK just want to scale. Get Akali to one item, get Zeri to 1 or 2 items, let Sion build up the stacks and get tanky. And Markoon can just juggle the lanes to make sure everyone's safe. They've got a great team fight, so XL needs to start skirmishes.
Coaches shake hands. SK players looking happy, looking excited, looking to right the wrongs of yesterday. And, you know, was a phenomenal bot lane performance out of them. Got to survive a bit of an esoteric lane this time around. On the other side, XL, I've said it before, we'll say it again, I can tell you that. They really have got everything on the line here, and they are throwing it all into that bot lane.
This is it. This is XL's life on the line, up against SK. Will they be knocked out here today, or will they have a fighting chance? We're about to find out. It's game 1, SK versus XL.
Welcome one and all to Summoner's Rift. Exakick and DOS were on your screen briefly, but it's looking like a pretty standard start to the game. No level 1 shenanigans. All we've got instead is a very tense game for the team on the red side. XL are 1-6 right now. It has not been an easy road for a team that was expected to be much more where SK Gaming are right now. They have to win this game. They have to win tomorrow to guarantee something like a tiebreaker. But if they lose today or they lose tomorrow, it's doomed. It's over.
It is. They've been in this situation so many times. I mean, I've been in that situation with them so many times.
I was going to try and avoid that for now, but there you are.
It's tough. It's a lot of pressure. And on the other side for SK, fantastic split. I mean, they're fighting for top 2 at this point, so they want to make sure they can keep in that race, make sure they can get in that top 4, maybe even push into the top 2, see how the rest of the games go. I've just done a little bit of research here on OPGG, looking at Patrik's account in solo queue.
Ooh, delicious. What you got?
How many Yasuo games do you think he's played in the last 150 games of solo queue since the season started?
20. Let's go.
Okay, divided by 10.
No, it was 2?
He's played 2 games. One of them was a win, one of them was a loss. So it must be something he's been practicing in scrims or some kind of secret account. But we will find out. Doran shield early. They should get the push. I mean, Yasuo, despite being a little bit weak level 1, normally he's weak with the melee support next to him, right? You're against double range. But with the Senna, she can just walk up, trade 1v2. The Yasuo can then push the wave quite effectively. So looks like with Xerxe starting top side, bot side is going to be XL's play and their plan. So a lot resting, on Patrik and Targamas.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, we're turning our eyes down here early on. And a reminder again, Exakick and DOS absolutely popped off yesterday. It looked like SK had walked themselves into a wonderful win until the Gangplank barrel started landing.
Yeah, SK had a fantastic game yesterday, and it all came from Exakick and DOS. Their early game was just amazing. It was just unfortunate that SK kind of threw it all away. Despite having such a strong Lucian, they managed to actually lose that game against Astralis. It was Finn on the Gangplank, amazing barrels, like you said. Hang on a second, we've got Xerxe up towards the top side here.
The graphics curse comes through. The moment we bring one up, action begins to happen.
Yeah,
and they're gonna just get first blood. Well managed by the top jungle duo from XL.
Simple and easy. Odoamne should be alright. No phase rush on the Sion to proc that, and the wave looks like it's in a pretty handy state for Odoamne as he levels up. Great gank by Xerxe. I think he did some kind of like Raptor start into red into Krugs and then just went straight top, and despite it being warded, that's just an easy setup. Sejuani Renekton, insane amount of CC. There's no real escape for him. Odoamne ideally here just wants to push this wave in, take a base, TP back, and once he gets that Blade of the Ruined King, it's going to be really hard for the Sion to match up against him.
And I think it's fair to say the one part of XL that has felt stable and consistently pretty good has been Odoamne. Getting on the Renekton, getting first blood, feels like a good start to this game, even if it's away from the lane we had some questions about because, you know, Yasuo Senna.
Yeah, so the Yasuo Senna is trying to keep the push up. Looks like they're doing okay for now. Still have their potions. Looks like the Zeri Yuumi does struggle a little bit in pushing back and of course doesn't have that much lockdown in terms of kill pressure on the Yasuo. Need that level 6. Win will help out against the Zeri too. A little bit of K-Corp flashing coming in from Targamas. Xerxe going to clear out his bot camps for now. Markoon's gone on a full clear. He's full cleared his bot side, based, and then ran towards the top. Still got that Ruby Crystal. Maybe fancies a gank up towards the top side. Odoamne hasn't crashed his wave fully. No flash, as you just highlighted. The E should get him away.
Yeah, uses the slice and won't need to roll the dice for now and does just get to back again. Has burned the TP, so he's just trying to hang around. He would like not to go back to base if he can manage it.
So I think for now it's a pretty even game state despite top being ahead. I think SK can't really play around mid right now. They need Akali to get to level 6. It's a bit hard to play around bot as well. Their CC and their options are lacking. So their mid game is really where they want to start looking for fights, and then obviously they scale really, really well. XL just want to force on these side lanes. Odoamne trying to trade into Irrelevant there. Try and chunk him out as the wave comes towards him. Xerxe will cycle through his second camp spawn and then should start looking for plays around the map.
Should, but we'll have to see whether that actually plays out. It's been sometimes a little bit disjointed from XL, the individual players sometimes feeling less than the sum of their parts, unfortunately, but so far so good. This game, they're going to have to keep it going though, because again, SK have, as we've already seen, been pretty damn good in the early game. Good stuff on Patrik there by DOS, just being a bit obnoxious on the cat.
And I think that early games all come down to Markoon. See if he can find anything. The Elise was just such a power pick for SK. Picked them up 2 wins. Any kind of early game proactive jungler is just something Markoon really loves, but Maokai is just a champion that you can't ignore on this patch. Xerxe lane ganking top. Irrelevant does have the flash up, but he's low. Maybe expecting Markoon to be up here. I think this is more of a counter gank cover rather than a setup for their own. And he's gonna... Oh, he cancels the recall. Wants to make sure Odo's safe. Odoamne is really low. Irrelevant's really low. SK now know that he's up there.
Of course, Markoon's on the other side of the map, so no risk of a counter gank right now. Targamas has also taken the back and looking to maybe turn up as well. That might change the equation just a little bit. Maybe turning into a 3v1, and Xerxe still on vision. Irrelevant knows exactly what's going on to a certain degree.
They're wasting a lot of time up here, XL. They need to commit for the kill, but he's level 6 here, Irrelevant. He could just ult away if he wants to, but he's going to stay under the tower. Odo can block that.
Does slice forward to block the coward's charge. Irrelevant, slowed down by the piercing darkness. Markoon has now made his way up. The turnaround potential beginning to come through, but ends up with not too much happening. The ult and the flash pop from Irrelevant, but that's it.
Saw Xerxe flash there with the W to try to get the slow onto Irrelevant to allow the stun to come through from Odoamne. As we can see there, the Viktor ultimate can cancel any kind of channel. So Sertuss TP got stopped, so that stings a little bit for SK, as the Akali would love to take a base on a bad trade, TP back, and then match the Viktor. So that's evened up the mid situation, and it's given a small lead over to Odoamne in terms of getting that plate, getting Irrelevant's flash, and all the meanwhile, Patrik's just been fine in isolation. He's picked up the whole wave. It's really hard to dive this Yasuo. Tier 2 boots, wind wall, exhaust. Not really much the Yuumi and Zeri can do, so maybe this is XL's plan. Allow the Yasuo to play in isolation, allow the Senna to start moving around the map, picking up souls with the jungle, and looking for plays on lanes.
For sure, and you know, you can imagine it's probably a little easier to pull off a dive once Patrik has that 6 and the last breath is available, can use the Sejuani to get the knock up and look for a dive then, but at least for now, are playing towards the other side of the map. And it has been a relatively quiet early game, with outside of the couple attempts top.
Yeah, it definitely has. I think no neutral objectives have been taken yet. Dragon's still up. I think that's something XL should look to start investing in when they're playing things like Yasuo and Senna. They can contest bots really early on. So we'll see what Xerxe does. Tries to get a little bit of information next to Vetheo there, but his whole top side's up, so a bit of an awkward state here of the map. XL have a bot wave coming into them. Xerxe has his top camps up, and now Markoon is around mid. Vetheo.
Man, myth, legend, flash from Vetheo, and he's hit by the shuriken flip. Not quite down yet.
Oh,
perfect execution. Not going to go down. Turret shot. Down to 200 HP, and Vetheo gets out alive.
Oh, a little bit of a risky investment there from SK. Sertuss just going a bit too deep. I wonder if it was better for him to R first when the stun came through from Markoon, and then E afterwards, so his R2 buffer came in and Markoon could tank. So a little bit awkward. Wants to get the execute damage off, but didn't use the ult earlier on. Flash for flash trade, but also Markoon using that flash means that it's just another beneficial play for XL. So the early game definitely going in their favor.
Sertuss was a player that we had a lot of praise for going into this week, but yes, they had a pretty quiet game on the LeBlanc. Not the best first look on the Akali here, but, you know, much of a game still to go, even if that did feel perhaps a little more awkward than it needed to be.
Definitely. But like you said, very quiet game. And I think XL are the ones feeling the pressure. We've highlighted before, but yeah, XL are out if they lose. SK are sitting very happy, already locked, I believe. Just depends on their seeding right now. Every win counts for them in terms of getting towards top 4, top 2. But XL know that any mistake could cost them everything. They don't want to overcommit. They don't want to go for risky dives. Flipping Baron later on in the game is just going to be disastrous. But we'll see how the game unfolds for them. But in isolation, like we said, top lane should be fine.
I mean, you mentioned it. SK are one of 6 teams between 4 and 3 and 5 and 2. There are so many teams that are so tight at the top of the standings. And only 2 games to play mean that they would really like to get this win to start competing for that top 2. As you said, you start to be able to choose your opponents going into the best of 3 stage, that next round of the split. So you really want that to happen. And SK take the option to start up this dragon. And that was something you were asking XL to do, and SK are the ones that pulled the trigger instead. Huge
objective trigger pulled first by XL. Xerxe commits to the Herald. Markoon then says, okay, we'll go bot side and get Drake. So they're using the Renekton most of this game. The Yasuo doesn't have that many knockups. Only really the Sejuani Q is something that could serve as a knockup for him to follow up on. So not really confident to play around bot just yet. Like we said, really hard to dive this Senna Yasuo, and with the Senna ult, it means that of course he can help out on the 2v1 top side. Xerxe hears the dragon die, re-enters top side, looks for some camps. So see if they look for a dive on this Sion. Warden's mail early, extremely tanky.
Yeah, not the easiest to take down, but of course has burnt the flash early, but has the ult back up, and maybe Xerxe will look to either drop the Herald or go for the dive. We'll keep our eyes on it for now. We've all seen Sion dive goes wrong over the years. Instead, Xerxe just decides, I'll take the Gromp and I'll go right back to base.
Not worth risking it, is it? I think Odoamne is probably saying, hey, I'm quite close to the Blade of the Ruined King. If I can just push in this next wave and TP back, I will be fine. And he sees the Irrelevance TPing back as well. Oftentimes in the LPL and the LCK, what you'll see Sions do actually is they'll base on a good wave, and then they'll run bot and ult through the tower with their team, have a 4-man dive, and then TP towards top. We haven't seen that yet from Irrelevant, and with that TP coming back to top, I think Patrik and Targamas should know that they're safe.
That's not going to be the case here and out, but, you know, always good to get that knowledge of how people are playing in other regions, and we know what the LPL is like, absolute madman when it comes to diving in particular. Instead, it'll be, again, a little bit more stable, a little bit more controlled, and you feel it in the game. No one is going absolutely ham right now because there is so much on the line in a lot of ways here, and they don't want to make the play that loses the game as much as anything else.
Yeah, both junglers just mismatching each other the whole time. Markoon top side, let's say bot side, and vice versa. Vetheo getting that cover we talked about from the jungle support. Xerxe making sure he's bringing the Viktor with him, holding hands, and as far as SK know, Vetheo could be running bots right now. The pink ward will spot out the jungle support, but he's going to take a base on this cover. And with the dragon being down, it means there's no neutrals to play for here, only this crab, but Xerxe no smite means he's just going to have to give it up. Has the Herald in his pocket, half left on that timer. He needs to look for a window to place it down, ideally for Vetheo, I think. And this is the base that Odoamne needs for the Blade of the Ruined King, I believe.
Irrelevant, just being as obnoxious as he can be, interrupting that back before we can get that. I can do it again.
Yeah, it's going to do it again.
Be getting any more out of this, or is it just going to be a little bit more of a wet noodle fight now? Odo trying to get a bit more of a trade here. Irrelevant. Be forced to use anything more than that, and in the bot side, Markoon's turned up, flash out from Patrik, throws down the wind wall, blocking out the final chapter, but the Yasuo now down that flash. Very easy little attempt from Markoon to get that summoner out.
Good wind wall. Odoamne has been really greedy up here.
Oh my god, he's never mind running away, he's running right in, yells cowards, down comes the Dawning Shadow. Defensive ultimate from Targamas to make sure his top laner stays alive, but that is 2 ultimates down.
Yeah, he needed to take that base way earlier. I think he was greeting for the wave, and Sertuss roaming up there means he has to give up. He's going to stay again. Should know that Sertuss is around mid, and XL preemptively put the Herald down. If Sertuss was diving top here, he'd lose 4 plates. But him being here in mid means that Odoamne is safe. But this goes wide from Xerxe.
Get out of jail free card, Glacial Prison goes wide, and they get on out that one.
Surprised Vetheo didn't commit the Chaos Storm there. Just dropped the ult on top of the W. I think he had the range to. Odoamne is still on this top side, wants to make sure he can push in this next wave. Irrelevant has no mana, and with the lifesteal, he can sustain through. Needs to be careful, though, as to where Markoon is, as he is top side, but he wants to make sure he's the first one pushing in the wave and taking the base. To make sure that Irrelevant's under pressure.
Just kind of feel like both these top laners refusing to go back on a loss where the loss is who got the last hit in. Irrelevant trading out here a little bit as Odo takes a quick tower shot, but he's going to start backing away. And in comes Xerxe again, knows the Gromp spawn, but will be spotted out by that sapling toss. And Markoon is around. I'm sure there's anything else happening in this Herald. Got used mid, got the plates there, but again, it's about a 1,500 gold lead, and that's about it for now. And Odo still hasn't backed. Going to finally do it after he clears out this wave. You have to imagine.
Yeah, definitely will. I think he'll take the plate and then take the base. Depends on if he has Demolish or not. But knock up connects. Patrik just chunking out Exakick. There's no real kill there. They don't have Ignite is the issue. XL don't have an Ignite to work with. And with Yuumi, with the heal, with the exhaust, I just don't think they have the damage to kill the Zeri, especially when she gets shield bow. So as much as I'm interested in how this Yasuo Senna will play out as the game progresses, I also feel like SK have just been given a free lane on the Zeri Yuumi that is now scaling up and is up in CS and pushing them in after these first few bases.
Feels like such a risky thing to do. Any Zeri Yuumi that is given free time to scale to get to 2-3 items is nearly invariably a terror in the game. And it's Exakick and DOS as well, a bot lane that has, as we've said, really turned up this split. They have been such an impressive duo that's come into the LEC and really put their names to paper.
Definitely have. We'll see how they perform this time around. They've got the shield bow, they've got the moonstone. Huge spikes coming out for the SK bot lane. I think they'll be saying to Markoon, we need to fight this next dragon. We're incredibly strong. Patrik's probably going to take a base here as well and look for the shield bow base. Odoamne still hasn't recalled. This whole time we've been talking about him basing for this Blade of the Ruined King. He's been a bit greedy, and he stayed for so long that Irrelevance managed to base and run all the way back. But now finally, he will take this recall with 3,000 gold in his inventory.
He finally got... No, Irrelevant, stop it! Leave it back, he missed!
Oh, it missed!
He missed!
So
Berlin
now...
Cried goes,
yeah. Xerxe, does he toss the ult here? He's thinking about it.
Definitely
here comes
is.
Targamas.
Now the setup around this dragon commences. Odo will have set him up, but he's finally back. Hasn't burned the TP, I don't think. Didn't quite see. The Blade of the Ruined King icon comes on up. Yeah, he's not going to have it. Irrelevant doesn't have heads either, so it is just the 4v4 and XL. Back out of the river for now. Don't feel comfortable to go in and attempt to fight this.
Interesting. They're just going to give this up. Or are they? Xerxe's back. Vetheo's around.
Now they're thinking about Glacial Prison lands this time. It's onto Markoon, who does take some damage, but the turnaround is pretty good as Sertuss ends up in the backline. The Dawning Shadow comes through, and Sertuss gets back on out as well. Markoon throws out the ultimate. Dragon secured. He has to flash out the back of the pit, but no one dies. And the attempted ingress from XL is warded off well by SK.
Messy fight. You can see the Yasuo is... It's really hard for Patrik to get involved. Xerxe landed the Q onto Sertuss, but he was in his shroud, so there was no possibility of a follow-up. And once the Sejuani Q's down, I think SK can be confident enough to walk up because there's no real threat of a knock-up for the Yasuo's follow-up. It's just this kind of self-play of Patrik trying to stack up those Qs.
There's a bit of damage there, and Targamas backing up Vetheo gets a bit of a chunk down, and all the while, Exakick and DOS begin to really tear into this tower on the bot side, looking like that might well be first turret unless Vetheo can manage it in mid lane with the support. No, goes down for SK, as XL will try to trade in the mid lane.
Yeah, XL will trade it. First pick, of course, like I said, going to SK, a little bit more gold for them, but XL getting the mid tower gives them more map control. A lot of item spikes coming in here. First item for Akali. Odoamne gets the top tower. The blades finally picked up by Odo as well, with the serrated Dirk building towards that Prowler's Claw. Rod of Ages on Vetheo stacking up. It's going to be a game where everything kind of explodes out of nowhere, I believe.
Quick note in here as well. XL's early game has been, frankly, pretty poor, all things said and done there. That's some very dire stats, but you look now at the top of the screen, you can see XL have actually managed to earn themselves a pretty healthy gold lead in this early game. They've got themselves second Herald, just picked up 2 towers, and yes, we've got some concerns about how freely this bot lane is scaling and the fact that these dragons are stacking, but at least in terms of the gold, this isn't a bad look for XL right now.
Yeah, the early game has been their crutch, really, throughout the whole of the Winter Split, and it mostly came from jungle and bot at times, I felt like. Even when Vetheo was playing that Jace game, he was ahead, solo killing his lane, diving between towers, but bot lane was just being sacked. And I feel like Xerxe wasn't playing around it enough to cover, but also Patrik and Targamas were making lane mistakes. But this time, like I said, through the early game with a lead, mostly on the solo lanes, as expected here for XL. 1.1 over to Vetheo because of all those plates in the CS lead, and the 1.7 to Odoamne with the tower and the kill. No dragons yet for 3 minutes. XL really need to fight this next one. And with no neutrals up for the next 3 minutes either, it's just going to be a bit of a slow one. Unless anyone oversteps on side lane, all XL are going to do is keep mid push, move towards bot, look for bot tower. SK will try to take mid push safely and play for top tower.
I like you add the caveat of unless, because that feels like a bit of a caster curse otherwise, because you feel like someone might overstep at some point. Not going to happen for now, though. And production, if we could, I'd like to check in on Targamas stacks as well, because we've not looked in on the Senna yet. It would be good to know what is happening. I can see, because of course it's the new overlay.
HUD, yeah, welcome.
I've got to get used to this. Look at this.
We've got a new fancy feature with the stacks. Oh, Irrelevant is just gonna
run away.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, he's just gonna walk away. He's gone to the wrong side of the map, but it feels like he's gonna be quite difficult to deal with.
But speaking of fancy features, yeah, we've got, if you can see, for all of you at home on the Senna portrait on the right, in the top right corner, you can see her stacks on 79 right now, which is 80, which is pretty good for 18 minutes
is.
in. Targamas has been stacking up. I wonder what he'll build. I've been looking at Targamas in solo queue. His most played is Senna by miles. 31 games played, 65% win rate. Blade of the Ruined King, first item to melt through the Sion and the Maokai. Most of the time here I'm seeing a lot of Eclipse and then Rapid Fire, but he must feel like he needs to burn through these tanks. So that Senna will actually do quite a handful of damage.
Yeah, I mean, again, as one of the only ranged threats here alongside the Viktor, you can understand maybe wanting to have a little bit more threat on the front line and finding a way to deal with that to make Patrik's life a little easier alongside Odoamne. Lichbane second now for Vetheo as well. Looking to try and pop someone who walks a long way. Bit of a split push threat as well.
I'm sorry, Initialise.
What have you got?
You've come to LEC, first time in the Winter Split. It's one of the slowest games we've got.
I know, I was expecting this game to be significantly more exciting.
Yeah.
And it is in terms of like the stakes, but the actual, like, it's a slow cook of the stake. It's not like a rapid sear.
It is. They don't want to make any mistakes. They don't want to burn the dish. They want to make sure it's nice and ready. But XL are just trying to get to those 2 or 3 items. Wait up for the next dragon and then take a fight. Xerxe will be their main engage. We'll see how Patrik follows up and how Odoamne follows up. He shouldn't have too much of an issue on the Renekton with the E and with the Prowler's Claw. He should be able to get on the back line. And then how much can SK do in the front to back? We've set the stage, and now it's just a case of waiting for SK and XL to perform the dance. 45 seconds on the spawn, and Vision contest coming in.
And this particular number's called the Dragon Dance. It's not quite Swan Lake, but we'll see whether it's as beautiful as that particular ballet at another time. As Sertuss might find himself in a 1v1 with Odoamne. Teleport now coming through, and SK maybe want to go on to this Crocodile, but they'll decide against it for now. Irrelevant down that summon.
Not bad. Irrelevant's going to have to sprint towards the bot side now, though. Him and Sertuss teaming up, need to get this dragon. Odo, no ultimate, though. So it's a TP trade for an ultimate trade. SK will be late, but XL will be down on ultimate. We'll see if they can find an engage here, SK.
Charging comes the Sion, looking to chop down a few members of XL. The ultimate comes through from Markoon, but it's blocked by a well-timed wind wall. Stun onto the Sion, but he's a damn tanky member into the last breath. Chunked out pretty low, but the turnaround begins to come through as Xerxe. The next target is Sejuani. Another tank in there, good, they knock him up. Sertuss is deleted. Vetheo claims that kill. The mid laner falls for SK and XL, 2 kills on the board. And they're going to head over towards this dragon and stop the stacking.
So it's SK who look for the initial engage, but Irrelevant goes too deep, has to flash away. Sertuss thinks he can clean the fight by going in, but Patrik pops the exhaust, has the shield bow. I think he also knocked up Sertuss in his E or ult animation. We'll have to see that again. But regardless, XL stopped the dragon stacking, and they have themselves a sizable gold lead. Vetheo 1-0-0 on this Viktor is really, really strong. So let's see this again. It's this Sion ult from Irrelevant that comes in from the top side. Nice sidesteps here from XL to dodge away from it. Patrik then blocks the Maokai ult, but we'll keep our eyes on Sertuss as to how he falls.
Does get this big chunk. You think at this point it's kind of the 2 tanks taking a lot of damage, then Patrik just goes absolutely in, and then here goes Sertuss. He's
exhausted. Is it the knock-up? I think it is.
Surely it is.
It's the actual Q from Sejuani. I saw him become airborne as he was trying to get the damage onto Patrik, so nice stop there by Xerxe. I feel like he's trying to Q away, and that's one of those things where Sertuss just happens to go in at the same time because Xerxe was getting chunked out so much. But regardless, they win the fight. Massive damage from Vetheo.
Welcome to the Bounty Castle.
Yeah, unbelievable. The knockups when the Yasuo has his Q3 and there's a Sejuani Q. It's quite hard for the Akali to look for fights. Now looking for Sertuss again here. Xerxe is alone. Patrik's really far. No follow-up from that one.
Great play there. And now you're looking at this Viktor, who's got a 10-stack Rod of Age, he's got the Lichbane, need to see large rod as well. He's becoming increasingly scary. He already did 3,500 damage in that team fight. Chaos Storm definitely doing work, and that's only going to get worse as this game goes on.
It is. We'll see what he builds towards. Looks like a Shadow Flame Warrior. Rabbitox. Here comes the engagement.
On to the Maokai. They've not needed the Sion to chop that tree down, but he'll escape for now. Odoamne being turned onto his crocodile hunting season. Doss gets the kill. The cat scratches that post down. And Xerxe trying to ward off Exakick, who won't go any further, but quick pick onto the top laner of XL.
Yeah, Vetheo's not there. He's their main source of damage. He's now collapsing through the top side, getting XL a little bit of push. SK looking around a Baron, but I don't think it's something they want to start up. Level 15 on the Viktor right now. He is the main carry, and as much as it's quite difficult for SK to maneuver around these skirmishes like the Renekton, the Sejuani, the Yasuo, getting to the Viktor is a whole nother story. And we'll take a look at this one again, because Sertuss and Vetheo are on towards the bot side. Xerxe is the one who initiates this engage. Patrik has a knock-up, lands on an X-Kick, but decides to ult onto Markoon. So a little bit of miscommunication there. Odoamne is going onto X-Kick, you know. If Patrik follows up that ult, then Odoamne can help him, and maybe they can just get the Zeri down as quick as possible. But he goes to Markoon, Odoamne goes to Exakick, miscommunication. They mis-execute the 4v4. Sertuss TP's in, Vetheo saves his. So that's the only saving grace for XL. But that's a kill over to the Yuumi. We'll see how she scales up when she gets to Putrid Fire and such, but now Vetheo might be in trouble, has the flash.
Sertuss looking to right some wrongs in the last Dragon Fight. In he goes, doing so much damage with the Chaos Storm, and that Gravity Field prevent the easy ingress to get any more. Vetheo out, and Sertuss will be denied a kill there.
Flash, save. SK gonna get mid-wave in. Odoamne is pushing top, has the TP up soon. Dragon in 2 minutes. So, no one's really getting caught just yet. We saw Odoamne fall earlier on, but it didn't translate into anything.
Yeah.
You need a sizable advantage on the pick to merit that you can start a Baron and look for a turn.
Has been, as we said, a little bit of a slower game. Both teams decided to go for that slow cooking approach, and while XL definitely in the lead as it comes to gold and stuff right now, you know, they've still got this area who's hit two items now on Sertuss. You can have this massive front line. We know exactly how they can be a really deadly force and have been pretty damn great across this split so far against the predictions of a fair number of people, frankly.
Definitely have. Going towards that third item, need the Infinity Edge, and then the Zeri will be locked and loaded.
Oh, yeah.
But Vetheo is also getting pretty strong. Getting close to that Rabadon's death cap, level 16. It's going to be a bit of a pain for SK to deal with, so it's kind of the Vetheo versus Exakick show in the backline, and then the rest of them are just balling on top of each other. These 3 melee champions versus the 3 melee champions of XL with Renekton, Sejuani, Yasuo. So we'll see who comes out of that ball alive, while Exakick and Vetheo are the damage dealers, the DPS, if you will. 1 minute on that dragon.
Yeah, and Vetheo is a player who has kind of been a bit absent this split, from being someone who was this clutch superstar comeback carry on Misfits of old to kind of being a non-factor in so many games. Had a good Jace game yesterday, got Ruby a couple times under mid lane with some good ganks from Xerxe on the Elise, but couldn't convert it after the bot lane capitulation.
Yep.
This game though, he is doing pretty damn well looking at those numbers.
He is, and if you watch the behind the scenes video, Vetheo just looks destroyed every time they lose these games. He's lost confidence in himself. He's doing speeches to try and big him and his team up. And now he's the driving force behind them in these last 2 games. The Jace game wasn't a win. It didn't translate into a success, but this one might. Level 16 now. Trying to build towards that Rabadon's. We'll probably push out this next bot wave base and have it.
He's got TP, he could do it.
Yeah, look to TP in to help the rest of his team. Just a case of who wants to pull the trigger first. SK can engage with Sion and Malphite. That engage is a lot easier to dodge though. You can see it coming from a mile away, whereas Xerxe can just, at the snap of a finger, go onto Sertuss, so that tenacity will help him out. And likewise for Markoon. The question is, if XL go to this dragon, do SK start up the Baron? Vetheo's coming out of base. We'll see how they dissect the play, but looking at SK's positioning, they don't really want to fight this dragon.
No, not right now. Xerxe jumps at Exakick, but he's got a wall ride and he's right on out now. Dashes away, Spark Surge. And now it's just this kind of waiting game. XL now going to clear out the vision, and the saplings that are really hitting hard now that the Demonic Embrace comes through, and Xerxe, despite being a tank, did not enjoy that at all.
Yeah, XL are really scared of SK taking this Baron. They do have a lot of damage with the Zeri. The Akali doesn't contribute that much, but they want to be very careful. They don't want to let it slip away. So mid-wave contest keeps on coming in. Odoamne then goes top to push that out. And now all of a sudden SK have been granted permission into this bot side because XL had to clear out the top side. So they're just going from side to side, river to river, trade off. Who's going to pull the trigger first? Does XL want to go towards the Baron now? The cards are in their hands, so they want to start this up as SK will go towards the Dragon. Neither of these teams want to take the bluff.
Vetheo managed to get back and got that death cap. He did not teleport back, so he's still got that ability to return to base, use the teleport to end up somewhere else on the map, and that is a very, very big victor.
Need to make a decision soon because Sertuss is pushing bot. They have to start up the Baron and get the Akali TP, then look to disengage or go for a full turn. It's going to be hard onto the Sion though. Maybe they're going to look for a Yasuo knock-up turn. No vision in the pit yet. Are they just going to flip it? It looks like a 50-50.
Here we go. What was in the kitchen was a burger all along. Massive knock-up. Baron down to 2,500. Irrelevant. In the pit. In goes Markoon. Looking to get the Baron down. He's stolen it. SK steal the Baron. And the hearts of XL fans break as Sertuss begins to clean up a number of the members alongside Exakick. Targamas flashes, but I don't know how far you can run. The door's been knocked down, and 4 members have fallen alongside the Baron.
Their lives came down to a 50-50 and they've lost it. SK steal the Baron right in front of them. XL went for such a risky call, and why? They were in control. They could have just secured a dragon. They could have just put vision around this Nash. But they went for the risky play, and it's backfired. And SK are taking so many objectives here. They're taking mid tier 2, bot tier 2 is almost down. They have Nash buff, they're getting dragon. All of this advantage that XL have accrued is just fallen apart.
It looked so good, and in the blink of an eye, it's a 5.7k Baron power play.
Why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense. They're just all standing in the pit next to a Sion. Where's the turn? Look where Targamas is. He's not even in the pit. He can't hit anyone. Patrik's just trying to get through this Sion. Vetheo tries his best to zone Markoon away, but now they're just staring at each other, both the junglers. The Malphite Q can do a lot of damage in finishing it off, and then Exakick's just free reign in this fight. Odoamne is miles away, uses the E to try to get on top of him. The Proudest Claw comes in, the cleanse gets him out of it, so XL are scattered. They have to run for the hills. And the only word I have to describe this is why for XL, and now Vetheo might be caught. He has flash, but his team's nearby. Maybe they can turn this onto Sertuss.
Sertuss has been denied enough number of times, throws down that Shuriken flip, flashes away, still hit by that Glacial Prison, but the teleport has been channeled. Markoon into the backside alongside the Yuumi, trying to rebuild up. Sertuss does fall, one Baron down, irrelevant, beginning to trade onto Odoamne alongside the Zeri. Markoon is there with DOS. They do kill Odo, it's a 1-for-1 right now.
Going in.
Exakick throws down that Spark Surge, begins to throw out some more of the Qs, but I think that's it for now. XL will take the 1-for-1, but they do not get any more.
Gonna lose this bot tier too. They lack a little bit of wave clear because Veteo's really low. He's their reliable way of clearing out these creeps, but he has to run all the way to base, so that means SK can start pushing in. Patrik can't really walk up. Xerxe is trying his best, but with Sion in front of the Zeri, the front to back is just so simple and standard. They might just burn through an inhib here. Needs to be careful though, because Odo's up in 20. Sertuss doesn't have TP. Do they want to opt into this 4v4?
Knock up onto Irrelevant, but he is so tanky at this point. 2 items complete, a Radiant Virtue that will be active with the ultimate that comes online now. Vetheo, 3 items, looking to find a way to carry this game, to do what he did so many times before in seasons past, and find a way for XL to remain in with a hope of finding playoffs, but they've got to turn around that monstrous Baron power play.
And then I also have to bring up the draft a little bit. This Zeri is 5,000 gold ahead of Yasuo. Individually, Exakick is 5k gold ahead of Patrik's Yasuo. And where's the value of it? There's one knock-up to play around, and it's the Sejuani. They can't find any form of turn. There's no Gragas or anything of likes to help Patrik out. He's just kind of farming waves, and where's the scaling aspect? Well, look at this play again. Sertuss looks for Vetheo. He calls his team to help him out, has a lot of mobility, so he can afford to go for these solo plays. And nice predict by Xerxe that Sertuss will flash this, throws the ult preemptively in the right direction. But then Exakick arrives, and as much as Odoamne tries his best to get Sertuss down, and he does, once the Zeri's here and you use your spells, you're just dead. And then once Odo falls, Exakick just jumps straight across the wall, and XL can't really match it.
The first thing you did when you saw that bot lane, you said, look, this feels like a free lane for Zeri, and you've called it out. It is that 4.8k gold lead, 303, 3.5 items plus a QSS. Exakick is capable of 1v9ing this game at this point. Alongside
Markoon, right? This was a player who was on XL last year, almost went to Worlds with them. Got to playoffs with them multiple times as well, and now he's on the brink of knocking them out of contention for a top 8 finish. Exakick is the driving force, but Markoon is the support behind him. Yeah, that's just a Baron play, isn't it? All fell apart. Absolute landslide of a gold lead for XL. And now SK in full control. Their comp is just really powerful and really good at scaling and really good at teamfights. So if you give them a lead, they can just hold on to it as long as they want. Cyril is picked up for Odoamne. We'll see if they can get Exakick down. He doesn't have flash for the next, I'd say, about 15 to 30 seconds.
That flash not there, as you said. And it feels like SK are the ones with everything to run with in this game now. XL's lead, it's dust and a net deficit at this point. They've got 3 items on Viktor. They've got 3 items on Yasuo. And yeah, there's that deficit, but that Yasuo will definitely hit like a truck if you can get to the Zeri, but that is easier said than done. There's a Yuumi, there's a Malphite, there's a Sion, and there's a QSS, but they'll try. In goes SK to turn this one around. The Wimble is not bad. It's not a bad Glacial Prison either, but already the turret goes down. Sertuss to the backside, trying to turn it around. They do get a kill back to 1 for none right now. Vetheo flashing away from that massive smash, but Exakick is untouched. The lightning surges, and he's looking more like T1's top laner because Xerxe is throwing out the Thunderbolts.
XL are limping. They need to get back to base. Vetheo really low alongside Xerxe. Their tower has fallen. 1 Nexus tower down. SK setting their sights mid now. Do they have a wave? They do, so they're going to step up. Exakick double buff. Summoners up as well. Patrik down for Sertuss, but as long as Irrelevant and Markoon protect the Zeri.
Odo goes in, but it's a last gasp, and that Crocodile is boots once more. 3v4 here in the mid lane. We've got an inhibitor down already. Markoon flashes forward to get onto Vetheo. He's desperately trying to survive, but Viktor, his glorious evolution ends here, ends now. XL are holding on by their fingernails in this game.
Vetheo got out, they have to base. If he recalls there, I think Vetheo can push SK back. Dragon's up in 15 seconds. That's soul for SK. What's the play for XL? Do they try to sprint down there and contest it? I don't think they can. They have no vision, no waves to play on. And this came from a forced dive from SK. They just dived them straight under a tier 2. Good block by Xerxe to stop the Sion landing on the carries. But even under a dive, it's a 1-for-1, and that's with a lot of skill shots landing onto Sertuss. Look at this knock by Patrik. Managed to get it on the R2, and then gets the ult, so he manages to live. But Exakick's just untouched. They have no way to deal with this Zeri.
And we've seen this before. Patrik had 2 of those knockups alongside Xerxe to interrupt Sertuss, but this Zeri is now at 4 items with a QSS. It gets worse. Dragon's dead. Soul's in.
And they're going to go straight to Baron. They've got double pink on the top side jungle of XL. They can see absolutely everything when they try to walk through. So they can play around that vision and decide whether they want to look for turns or not. Vetheo's just picked up the Void Staff. XL trying to get some vision through mid. They know if they lose this Baron, the game is as good as over. They're grasping at straws here. Blue orb in, 13k on the Baron HP. But Akali's lying in wait, waiting for them to walk up. Vetheo has no flash. 8k, 7k.
Xerxe spotted by the sapling. Sertuss on the flank. The teleport comes through, but it might just be too little. It sure feels like it's too late. XL are desperately trying to find the way to the pit, but it is, as you say, gone. Patrik throws down a last breath. And that is such an epic for an ultimate. Exakick is murdering them all. A double for him already. Sertuss cleans up a 3rd. Exakick would love to claim the Sejuani to boot. But that's it. You've got Vetheo and a Sejuani, and the teleports come through. XL, your winter split ends here.
SK have got all they need to put the nail in their coffin. 30-second respawn timers. They're grouped as 5. They're going straight for the Nexus. And off the back of a stellar performance from Exakick and the support of Markoon by his side on SK, they will push XL out. And they might play tomorrow, yes, but we won't see them until spring.
It's a swan song tomorrow. The dream, the miracle run. It was not to be, an SK stamp their authority with a monster Baron play.
Nothing short of a failure. That XL lineup really, isn't it? Coming in, everyone thought this was going to be a top 4, but not even a top 8. And they can play their hearts out tomorrow, but that's it. Statistically, they are out of the top 8. SK will be happy, putting themselves at 5 wins now. Next to teams like Vitality and G2, trying to contest that top 4 themselves.
It is, as you say, a disappointment. They've got time now to go into this break, and yes, it will be disappointing. Yes, it will hurt. But there is time to do what the first 3 weeks that are so brutal on teams that haven't quite clicked. They've got that time to maybe fix some of these issues, come back into spring, and swing for the top of their standings the way that people were hoping coming into this split.
Yeah, they need a massive turnaround. Wouldn't be surprised if the team implodes, something changes. They need to fix those issues because there's a lot of them. It's heartbreak for XL, the whole organization and the team. But it's elation for SK.
Yeah.
And as much as they haven't achieved anything in the sense that they've locked something or, accomplished or locked the top 4, they've got 5 wins. They're sitting tied with G2 right now.
This is the brightest and most excited I think most people have been about SK in many years, and I think you should be excited going to see them in these best of 3s. I think there is a lot of hope, a lot of talent, a lot of promise in this roster. And I think I'm among many in saying I'm pretty excited to see where they go from here.
There's a smile on Markoon's face. Of course, was on XL last year. Gets the pleasure of knocking them out as well, so that must feel quite sweet for him. Didn't have to do too much in terms of carrying the entire team. Just had to allow an X-Kick, but you can vote for your player of the game at LEC on Twitter. Irrelevant, Markoon, and Exakick below. I think Xerxe just ran away with it. Free scaling lane. Bit of a confusing strategy from XL to just allow him to scale up for free like that. And then he just took over the game. I mean, the Zeri at 3 or 4 items is just absurd.
You mentioned it. Pretty much the moment we hit the rift, you said, look, Zeri's going to get a free lane, and that they did. And then every team fight post about 20 minutes turned into the Zeri show. And it was pretty spectacular from him. Of course, Irrelevant survived the top lane. Yeah, there's a lot of other people you can vote for, but we kind of know where the damage was coming in.
I think we're setting up with an interview with Odoamne, so we'll get a little bit of insight as to what happened with XL. Of course, we'll see them tomorrow in their final game of Winter Split, but maybe a little bit of backstory as to what happened, and final comments from Odoamne, so we'll have to see what he's got to say. But tough loss. Yeah. It was really in their hands until that Baron, and they just threw it all away. And it did feel like the best early game we've seen from XL. Possibly the whole split. It was looking like they could do it, and that one Baron flip made it all fall apart. But I think now we are about ready to go towards that interview, so I'll throw it over for that now.
Thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much, Odo, for joining me. Obviously, not under the best circumstances ever, and I'm not going to ask any hows and whys. I'm just going to ask you to reflect on last year, this year.
Yeah, my first thoughts are like, yeah, I kind of just speedrun any percentage win LEC to kind of almost 10th place, depending on what happens tomorrow, I guess. So, yeah, tough pill to swallow. This split was like not what I expected at all. In a way, I'm kind of happy it happened in the sense because at least, I feel like when you win LEC, anything after that, it's good for someone to knock you and give you like a reality check as soon as possible, because at some point the winning streak will end, and for us it ended a bit, or at least for me it ended a bit early than I would have wanted it to. So yeah, I don't know, a lot of things to take, a lot of room to grow. I don't know, it was hard, also to perform individually and also as a team because of like so many things that are like happening, So yeah, I'm not gonna make excuses, This split looks like we suck and I suck, so yeah, on to tomorrow and on to the next, because I've been here before, maybe not this low, but yeah, I always made it back, and yeah, it sucks, but that's it.
Although we've seen you being beaten down and we saw you come back up and you won the LEC. So we all know this is just a little bump in everyone's career. And talking about career and talking about you're of course a veteran here in the LEC. And this is so important to talk about the struggles, to talk about getting back up for all the rookies, for all the new players that are coming on the stage as well. Maybe failing, maybe not doing well on the first, second, third split. Do you have any words of aspiration to give to them as well?
Yeah, I think no matter where they go or anywhere they are, it's like, every org, every team has its own flaws. Just from like outside perspective, the grass is always greener on the other side, but it's not really, at least I think for everyone, times like these will come where they will like struggle, and maybe it sucks for some of the rookies that their first year was like this one, that it is for me or for us right now. And they never get to come back, But that's the game in a way, It's like someone has to lose, and it's a tough environment, And with a lot of pressure, a lot of them crack, But I'm glad that there's always, every year there's new rookies coming in, so they have great support staff, and I think most of the rookies that are coming in are fitting into very great teams with a lot of staff that can make them fit in and provide everything they need to accommodate, because transitioning from even ERLs to LECs is not very easy.
Well, thank you very much, Odo, for having this interview with me. Really appreciate it, and letting everyone know about the struggles in any sort of way in life anyway. Thank you so much for opening up. Thank you for joining me. We're going to go into a very quick break and be right back for game number 2.